Racing past the newly constructed roundabout, which leads to Zimbabwe's Parliament building in Mount Hampton, is the impressive newly laid highway, smooth, well-marked and with wide verges. This is representative sample of the infrastructure development path by the Second Republic under the leadership of His Excellency, President Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa.
The Parliament has been built. It is not only magnificent, but it is majestic, and it is complete.
He carries the vision of national development with no restraint. His trailblazing path to development is leaving no one and no place behind.
Only Zimbabweans will build Zimbabwe. Development is a shared responsibility, and every citizen has a role to play.
The Zimbabwean leader has laid out a plan to put 350,000 hectares of land under irrigation from around 240,000 hectares. This included spending on everything from small irrigation schemes to the $42 million Gwai Shangani Dam, whose dam wall construction began in August 2018. Gwai Shangani Dam engineering surveyor Emmanuel Kamunga says irrigable land has already been identified.
So the major purpose of the dam was to supply water to the city of Bulawayo. But the dam is going to have various purposes or uses after its completion. We are also looking into irrigation. There are going to be some green belts along the pipeline. We already identified irrigable lands, the fertile lands that we've already identified and surveyed. All those people who live in those districts are going to be the first beneficiaries of the irrigation scheme.
In Mashonaland East, Chivu district, a dam was constructed. The development dovetails with President Mnangagwa's vision of turning villages into green belts under the Presidential Rural Development Program. The dam was constructed under the government's public sector investment program and was commissioned last year. Resident engineer for Chivu Dam, Engineer Tsuro, speaks.
First, we have the dam itself, which impounds the reservoir. Secondly, we have got the treatment plant, which purifies water for consumption in Chivu town. The irrigation scheme is now complete.
Chikomba Rural District Council Chief Executive Officer Tatenda Chiwara had this to say.
Coming off the project called Chivu Dam to complement what was being done at Range Dam in terms of water supply for Chivu has really helped a lot.
Infrastructure projects extend to Bulawayo's Mpilo Hospital, whose buildings were razed down by fire. Authorities at the facility are forever grateful.
This is a newly constructed flat that is going to accommodate quite a number of our doctors. You know, every year we receive quite a number of doctors from University of Zimbabwe who are coming here as junior doctors.
Policies under President Emmerson Mnangagwa's government have attracted groundbreaking innovations. One such innovation is the Geopomona Waste Management Project. The Chief Executive Officer, Delish Nguwaya, speaks.
The Kanban has been guaranteed by the government of Zimbabwe as a national project, and so far we've employed more than 162 workers and 60 contractors.
The energy sector has not been spared. Kariba South Power Station General Manager, Engineer Nyandoro, says improvements at the facility will alleviate power shortages.
This project will go a long way in alleviating the power shortage in the country. As you know, there is a water shortage at the Kariba Dam complex because of low inflows into the reservoir. This has been caused by the devastating effect of the El Nino. But the power plant still contributes a lot in terms of peaking power.
The refurbishment of Wange Units 7 and 8 will be consigned to history as one of the biggest projects the Second Republic embarked on. Massive power generation following this development has helped the country meet the growing demand for power supply. The acting managing director of the Zimbabwe Power Company, Norbert Mataruse, said the 2 new units were producing 30% of Zimbabwe's electricity requirements.
In terms of Wange 7 and 8, it was commissioned in August last year by His Excellency, and those units have been working like sewing machines, if I can use that expression. They've been working without any problem at all. We really appreciate our Chinese friends, our all other friends who have actually invested in this sector, and we also say hats off to His Excellency Dr. Mnangagwa for being the champion in terms of ensuring that this project was actually funded. 7 and 8 is actually giving us 600 megawatts.
Right now we are at the heart of the Tinson Iron and Steel Company, where we have the blast furnace on site, which is constructing about 600,000 metric tons of carbon iron. What we're looking at just behind me, we have 3 cooking ovens where we have produced the temperature of about 1,120 onwards degrees Celsius. These cooking ovens are going to fire our blast furnace, which is going to melt that cinder which was coming from the sintering plant. We are going to mix cinder, coke, and iron together to produce what we call the molten pig iron.
Tugwi Mukosi, a Zimbabwe engineering masterpiece, is an epitome of Zimbabwe's capabilities. Charles Chimuti, an employee of Zinwa, responsible for Tugwi Mukosi, unpacks some of the dam's benefits.
Tugwi Mukosi is the largest inland dam here in Zimbabwe, based on its water holding capacity. It has the capacity to carry 1.8 billion cubic meters of water, and that water has the capacity to irrigate about 40,000 hectares of crop.
In the southern region, Zimborders Consortium General Manager Nqobile Ncube says the old Beitbridge border post was hindering the increased free flow of goods and services in the region. The refurbished border enhances Zimbabwe's land-linked capacity to all movement of goods and services.
The region as a whole recognized that Beitbridge was now becoming a bottleneck. You would realize that there is always this story that gets always told every time, that when Beitbridge sneezes, the whole region catches flu. This is because Beitbridge is the outlet between South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe is basically the regional logistic hub, because it's very rare for any country within SADC to touch South Africa without going through Zimbabwe. That factors into a lot of logistical movement that is involved. So when Beitbridge does not cope, it is not only South Africa and Zimbabwe that are affected, it is the whole region at large.
Another standout project is the Museum of African Liberation being built in Harare.
The project is a corrective agenda. So many things need to be corrected in terms of the perception of Zimbabwe, the perception of Africa internationally. I watch global media every day. If you open any news story on the global media channel, if they have a story on Africa, there are only 4 themes that story gets into: death, disease, darkness, or corruption. You see, nothing else. They have nothing to talk about. We call it the triple DC. That's how they do their story lineups. And the triple DC did start today. It's an extension of an agenda that has been pursued by the colonial empires for 500 years.
Under President Emerson Mnangagwa, government targets to build 2 million housing units by 2030.
We are also expected to ensure that our rural communities, which constitute about 60% of the Zimbabwean population, has got access to housing. Earlier on, I talked about building flats in the rural district councils. These flats are not only being built for civil servants, but for all Zimbabweans who can afford, who could be domiciled in those various areas of the country. So this is the program that we have. The major target is to ensure that by 2030, we do not have a backlog of housing.
In aviation, landmark developments at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport have cemented Zimbabwe's position as a destination of choice for tourism. Airports Company of Zimbabwe Public Relations Manager Tonderai Mangombe says the renovated airport held 2.5 million passengers annually. And now, that figure is set to be tripled.
We had smaller airports. Now it has been upgraded. It's cater for 6 million passengers per annum. And we used to have only 3 aero bridges. Now we've got 7 aero bridges, which means we added 3 more, with one with a capacity to handle the largest aircraft, passenger aircraft, which is Airbus A380, which can now land here at RGM Mugabe International Airport.
This is my first time back in Zimbabwe in 13 years. So it's amazing to see the wonderful new airport. It is quite spectacular. Quite something not to walk on the tarmac and down the stairs and across the runway. So it's very beautiful, beautiful shiny floor, maybe beautiful Zimbabwean granite. But it's very wonderful. It's very special to be home, and I'm thrilled to be here.